is what we have. We are going to explore the fascinating world of large language models. What do they start with? First thing, we call them large language models. There are three types of data which you are working with whenever you are working with artificial intelligence. There are three types of data that you work with your everyday task also. You would either be having something spreadsheet, CSV files, something which is tabular or maybe non-tabular but numerical to work with. You can create graphs with that, you can interpret, visualize. So one part of my data is numbers. Second part of my data is text. Text is something that we convert. So all the languages in the world, one, all the websites in the world, two, Wikipedia, three, all the textbooks in the world, four. There would be so many things that we would talk about as text. Text is something which you would not require to interpret, but which you require to convert, which you require to put your ideas in, put your thoughts in, and you will be able to talk to someone if you understand text well. Previously we used to have sign language, we are going back to the sign language again. I mean, for me to talk to LLM, it's a sign language. For LLM to talk back to me, it converts back to the language I use. What is that sign language we come across? Third type of data that we deal with is images. Images are anything which is not just images like this. It can be videos. Videos are images which are played very fast. So you call those images as frames. You place a lot of frames together. You create a flip book by drawing something and you can flip all the pages and make it like an animation. So if an animation is played fast enough, it becomes a video kind of thing. So three types of data primarily that we will be talking about. When we talk of large language models, they talk of the text only. That means we do have capabilities beyond text also that you will be asking me or each other a lot. That we can generate images using LLMs, we can generate a lot of things using LLMs which was previously not feasible. But what do I train a large language model on is only languages or only text. And a huge volume of the text that we actually use to train these models is the first requirement. So I say that we are training massive AI systems on enormous amount of text from across the internet, books, articles, whatever you can get your hands on, you can feed into a LLM. Now one more thing that I would like to add here. Any artificial intelligence system works only with mathematical data. So whether it is text, whether it is images, or whether it is statistical data, any large language model would always, or any AI system would always work with numerical data. Correct? So what happens is that how do I convert text to numerical data, or how do I convert images to numerical data for that matter? Because numbers are numbers, I'll be able to convert them numerically. There is no problem. But if I have to convert some text to numerical data, I would be using some operation that we call as vectorization. So, fundamental of vectorization is I take some text, I convert it into a vector form. The vector form would be having some digits which represent the text. Okay. The only thing worth understanding here is if there are two vectors which are close to each other in the language, like bread and egg, they will be close to each other in the numerical representation also. Like cat and dog, they might be closely related. But if there are two vectors which are not related to each other, like Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi, so you wouldn't find them on the same spectrum. They might be, so all BJP leaders might be vectorized to the same space. All the Congress leaders might be vectorized to the same space. All the grocery items which are bakery may be vectorized to the same space. that their vector representation would be placing them close to each other. But all the perishable vegetables may be placed in the same vector space which are close to each other. Right. And why does it matter? So when I said LLM, we are talking of taking a lot of text data, converting it into a numeric form, that I call a vector, storing all the vectors into a large space. Right? That space is multidimensional. That space is not two-dimensional, that space is not three-dimensional, that space would be multi-dimensional because dimensionality vectors may, now we say food items is one kind of dimension. Right? Within food items we may have a lot of dimension. That perishable food, non-perishable food, vegetarian food, non-vegetarian food. So we would never be able to say that all of the text which we convert to numeric form would always come in a single two-dimensional space. It's always multi-dimensional, depending on what is the categorization that we do for that. Right. So whenever we talk about data and whenever we talk about text to be converted to a numerical form, why is it important to convert it to numerical form? Because now I would be able to find out patterns within that data. That is the requirement that I have to be looking at. So LLMs are simple. That they are pattern recognition machine. They will be trying to find out patterns on the basis of what I am asking them. And repeat again. If I ask certain question to my large language model application, it is going to be converted to a vector again. Right? What color is the sky? It's the question that I am asking, let us suppose. It would be converted that to vector again. From the vector space, it is going to try and compare the vectors to each other. That sky is there. Can I compare sky to some word in the vector space that I created? Can I compare the color to the vector space that I created? What if I find that sky and color are very closely related with the word blue from the vector space, and that is how it is going to give an answer. It is going to try to find a pattern, some statistical relationship between the words. Are these words very closely related? Do they have no relation? Or what is statistically the most possible plausible word that is going to come in the sentence that I am going to say. Now, this is in a sense, or before we go to this, I'll ask you a question. Complete the sentence which I am saying. Right? Since it was raining, I could not go out to. अभी दो लग रहा है आंसर चाहिए मुझे. For the female, set an answer in your mind. For the male, set an answer in your mind. Right? I'll take one representative from male. Power. What do you think when I say since it was raining? My question is, just complete the sentence. Since it was raining, I could not go out to. What should be the word there?
आगे मैं आपके लिए चलो
Ma'am, what do you think? Since it was raining, I could not go out. Aparna. 90% of the workshop which I have conducted, 90% of the time I get an answer. If there are students, I could not go out to play. If there are more males, I could not go out to work. If there are more females, I could not go out to shop. I don't know how many of you actually had that thought in your mind that I could not go out to shop. Please raise your hand if you thought that. Okay. For the male, I could not go out to work or I could not go out to play. That's the more plausible. Now, I did not plant this word in your head. We did nothing of that sort. Right? Even within this small set of people, how did you come across that word? Shopping should be the sentence completion in here. How did you pick that word? Or most of you did that together. Are you telepathic? How you connected so well to each other? How do you decide that word shopping? You have no idea. Okay. the beauty of the languages is that we train our own brain also on what we read, what we process, what we talk, the way we talk things. So since it was raining, I could not go out for shopping. It's something which is usually statistically most plausible word that comes fitting with this sentence. But as we saw, that may be gender specific, may be age specific, it may be context specific, depending on who is talking, who is the audience, who is asking the question. I should be able to know who is the person behind the screen who is asking this. Because of that, the context changes. And the context changes, the answer also changes. But summarily, all of us would be able to complete a sentence the same way if we have studied from the same literature, if we are going through the same life experiences, we would be able to complete a sentence in the same way as other humans would do. Unless and until it's a very awkward, or unless and until it's a very different kind of topic that we are talking about, or it's a very uncommon topic. जो भी topic common है. If I ask you that I had a good meal consisting of rice and, so for this group it would be rice and dal most of the time, right? But this is because this is what we are brought up with. For some group, if I am talking in school in Chennai, they will be saying rice and sambar. Because that is what they grew up with. The language changes, the context changes, or the set of audience changes. So what is their vocabulary over the years that gets ingrained in the brain? This is basically the fundamental principle of large language models. How do they work? It would pick a set of words. It would find what is the most plausible word that would come after that. So when they say cat sat on the, there are probabilities of these things coming in. It would be sitting on the mat or the floor or the chair. They were all likely. The cat could have sat anywhere. But the cat sat on the mat is something that would come to you more easily because it rhymes, one. Second, you must have studied it in some very union class, that because these were the way teachers were teaching us rhyming words, the cat sat on the mat, or the word which had vowels. So this is also the way large language models do work. They would be working with your own thought process, but the thought process has now been passed on to a computer. How do we pass that thought process to the computer is simple. Give the computer enough to read from all the text in the world, all the internet, blogs, websites, books, the way people frame things, the way people say things, the day-to-day conversation that we have, everything goes into a large language model training. Right? This is generic, a very generic training. And what we come across is something that we call as a foundational model. So, I'll give you a brief about the foundational model again. So in the last workshop that we had from AWS Party Rock, this is the first time that I learned there. The trainer said that foundational models are specific to data. I had never thought of it that way previously. I mean, if I have to create a foundational model for text, I will be creating a model which is learning from text only. I want to create an artificial intelligence which generates images. I would now have to create a foundational model, training it on a lot of images, and that would create a foundational model which is capable of generating images because it has seen a lot of images. Right? Similarly, I can create a foundational model which is basically working on mathematical part by training it with a lot of mathematical examples. So foundational models are simply those large models, not large language models, those large models which have been trained on a huge set of data belonging to a specific category. So it could be images, the model could be foundational image model, like your Sura is for video, or video for that matter, from Google. They are foundational models which are trained on image data. But When I say large language model, they are different from foundational models. That they are foundational models, but their training set is text. Okay. So this is basic of large language models. They have limitations. They don't understand the world. When they do not understand, they make up something. I ask it a question which it does not know the answer to. What do you expect? Say, I don't know the answer to that. It doesn't that. It simply would do generate an answer for you and expect you to believe it. It's your job now to cross-check whether the answer was okay, correct, incorrect. Maybe there was a bit of factual misunderstanding, but whatever it does not know. Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was trying to write a paper, research paper, with an LLM, of course. Don't do that. Don't try that. It's not a good thing. So when you are trying to write a research paper with an LLM, it did good job with most of the part. Abstract, yes, it can write. Keywords, yes, it can write. You give it an introduction, yes, it can write. Beyond that, you say literature review. Literature review is something where it has to understand that who all were the people who spoke about it. This was 1.5 years back, not today. So I am just sharing what happened back then. There would be change now. So from that point, what it did, I asked it to create a set of citations in IEEE style based on this particular topic in the past 5 years. This was the question which I posed. It created a very good set of citations, 20 citations, all in IEEE style. Title of the paper, name of the author, where was it published, what was the year, everything came. The only problem was none of that existed. There was not a single citation in that list which was ever existing. Either the names of the authors were fake, or the title of the paper was fake, or the year was fake, or the journal was fake, or everything was completely fake. So when you had everything in the citation list completely fake, then that means it did not even bother to tell me, the application, that no, I can't do this. Simply generated something, gave it to me, and expected me to accept it. It's your job to check whether you are correct or not. Yes.
I tried the same thing on the Go and it is giving good results.
Over the year they have changed it. Over the year they have changed it because hallucination was the biggest problem which LLMs was facing. Beyond, there was a second problem, not just hallucination. The first time I worked with OpenAI, ChatGPT was when it was launched in the alpha, not even beta. The alpha stage was that I had a token window of 1024 token. I'll come to that, please remind me, I'll come to that. What is the context window, what is the token and everything. So for the time being, that our large language models have improved a lot. The only biggest problem they had was that hallucination is now being addressed. Majority of the LLMs have moved from the hallucinating part to something which would be factually verified. And there was a reason. Now you understand that we talked about that we want to train a lot of data for a large language model to learn from. But you have a set of books, you learn from it. Everything that was in the book you learned. Right? Suddenly somebody asks you a question which you have not been trained on, which was not there in the book. How are you going to answer that? Limitation is as human as it can get. That I learned from a specific set of data. You ask me a question which does not belong to that set. How would I respond? Instead of saying I do not know the answer, LLMs are trained to simply make up for the information, give it to you. Right? So ChatGPT, when it was first launched, it had a cutoff window of September 2022. That was the time. That up to that point, it was trained on all the information which was available on the internet. उसके बाद की information उसने नहीं सीखी थी. So if you ask it today that who won the India-Pakistan cricket match 6 months back, it won't be able to answer क्योंकि उसकी cutoff थी 2022. It did not have access to the internet. It was having access to only the large language model which it was trained on. भाई मुझे 2022 तक का डेटा पता है, मुझे उसके बाद का डेटा नहीं पता. अगर मैं उसके बाद का डेटा जानता ही नहीं हूँ और आप मुझसे वो पूछ रहे हो तो मैं नेचुरली आपको गलत आंसर दूंगा, राइट। दूसरा, मैं साइंटिफिक डेटा पे ट्रेन नहीं, मैं टेक्स्ट डेटा पे ट्रेन हूँ, तो आई वुड नॉट बी इवन एबल टू गिव यू quotations from scientific literature, which was not again my strong point, right. So with these two, hallucinations was a very big problem with almost every large language model application that we were using, right. Then they can be good for creativity, productivity, learning, but you need to understand what is the strength and limitation of each LLM that you are going to work with. So I understand them well. This is a script, comic strip that I created last evening for the presentation. I did not know what to present to all of you, but this is feasible today. You can create images from any large language model application like ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. They are good with generating images. They are consistent across characters. They are consistent across the theme on which it has been generated on. But the applications are not purely large language models, let me tell you. They have become multimodal. When we say multimodal, that means instead of only talking about the text that we used to talk about earlier, so ChatGPT जब initially आया था, it was working only on text, was nothing except text. You could give it text, it would give you text back. Sometime down the line, they said there is a voice mode now. Instead of only text, it would be able to convert text to voice and then give you an answer back in voice. Or you could talk to it in a voice mode, it would convert it back to text and then convert it to a query. Right? Here we have two things working, not just one. So I have a training model, I have a foundational model which is trained on a lot of text, one. And I have a foundational model which is trained on a lot of voice data also, because accents differ, the way people speak differ. So both of them are combined together to give you the functionality of a foundational model which is large language model or text, a foundational model which can understand voice and generate voice also, and generate voice maybe in a lot of different accents, a lot of different languages also, right? Eventually, I added the capability of another foundational model which is capable of generating images. That was the third multimodality that we added to it. So that multimodality also brought in another capability to your application. I am differing between two things. When I say large language model, I am saying the model, fundamental or the foundational model which it is based on. The applications are Gemini, the application is ChatGPT, the application is Claude, the application is, there are endless number of applications. What if I say there is an image generation model like Leonardo.ai which is capable of, you give it a prompt, it generates an image for you. Okay. Foundation model was images, it learned a lot of images. Okay. But to make it worthy, I have to add a large language model on the top of it, because how would it understand what I am trying to say? With the conversation part, the image data is not giving it. So what to make the meaning of what prompt somebody has given, that is another foundational model. So Leonardo, if it is an image generation tool, should be having two capabilities. One, it should understand images very well, that has been trained on. Two, it should understand human context very well, that has to be trained on. So I combine both, I get an application which takes two fundamental or foundational models together, takes in prompt from you, checks out what images matches to this closely or what parts of the image should match closely, brings them together in a stage form, and there are different ways to generate images, like there are GAN, there are VAE. We are not going to that for the time being. But how does it generate the image? It learns the image data, and secondly, whatever you are telling to it, it is converting to a form which that application can understand. So I have to combine two. Similarly, if something is capable of generating videos based on prompt, there would be a video foundation model plus there would be a foundation model from large models. That should be combined, that makes an application. So the applications we see today, they grow up from a lot of different domains. They may be drawing from a foundational model which is text, they may be drawing from a foundational model which is image. Anytime you see a new capability like voice added, there would be voice added to that training model. And whenever you now start looking at the foundational model or the application, think of what different foundational models must have gone into the production of this application. That is the kind of scenario that you have worked. Okay, I'll stop the presentation here. If you want a harder presentation, this is what we usually work with. This is just 108, sorry, more. It's based on interview by Andrej Karpati. Whosoever is working in this space, they know him very well. Andrej Karpati is a AI educator. He creates YouTube videos which are very, very popular with the people who are learning generative AI. So simply speaking, I'm just extracting some portions from his presentation which are useful. A large language model would look something like this. That there would be a file containing all the parameters. That means I took the data, I converted into numeric form, I converted vectors out of it. From the vectors, I found out some patterns. I stored all those patterns into one file, which you call as a parameter file. This is the parameter file, or this is the that how large your language model would be depending on how many parameters it has. Llama is a 70 billion parameter model. Each parameter takes 2 bytes of storage. So the size of the file which stores the complete model is 140 gigabytes of storage. You can have a small language model running on your own computer that can be as big as like 8 gigabytes or so. 8 gigabytes से कम is very difficult to create. Okay. How do you create it would be this. You take a chunk of the internet, maybe 10 terabytes of text. Terabytes is, what we have used on our system is megabytes for the storage, gigabytes, we know, mega, giga, then we come across tera, peta, exa, we keep on increasing by 10 to the power of 3, say multiply right? So this is 10 terabytes of text chunk from the internet. You give it to 6,000 GPUs for 12 days to crunch. It would take a roughly cost of $2 million to train this data. And what it is going to result in would be a 140 gigabyte file, which you can think that all the summary from this information has been zipped or extracted and stored into a model. Right? So this is basically the way you would have your foundational models created. Take a lot of data of what type you want to train it on, give it to GPUs. Why GPUs? Why not CPUs? It's a question for another day. But in very simple words, CPUs do everything sequentially. I can give it a sequential set of instructions. Right? It's so something like I pass on a attendance sheet to all of these set of people. You can keep passing it on. It would come to me only after the last person has signed. It's the sequential model. The CPU would work with. GPU is something like I create a attendance, I pass it to you online, all of you parallelly do it, I get the attendance back immediately. So that parallelism is the beauty of GPU. Instead of doing all the tasks in sequential, whatever task we can do in parallel, it just divides it into parallel parts, does all those computations together and gives me back the result. So GPUs are essentially useful for all artificial intelligence training because the data we convert it into is numeric, possibly stored in matrices. Matrices are very easy to work with parallelization of GPU, and that is why we are going to get a model something like this. So this basically concludes that what basically is a large language model. If you have any questions, then may please ask before we pick up the examples of all large language models one by one. from computer science. Yes. GPUs have a very interesting story that came from the beginning when we were using GPUs early systems for gaming. That means if I wanted to play a game which had a lot of graphics in it, I would be using a GPU. NVIDIA was selling GPUs only for gamers back then. It was not even selling it for this task particularly. The reason was that the image data was very easy to parallelize. Image data is something like this complete image is a set of pixels. So every single point on this would be a pixel. Each pixel has a set of bits which we are storing. If I want to change every pixel by some mathematical formula, I'd be able to parallelly apply it. So initially my GPUs were used for gaming because it was easy to generate graphics in parallel because the parallelization of pixels was there, already there. So I could manipulate each of the pixels separately, parallelly and get the result back. So what that did was, instead of my image generating like from top to bottom slowly, I would be able to give it a parallel set of data or transformation and it would be able to transform it together. So moving from one scene to the next in the game became very easier. Because if I just wanted to show somebody moving, then some of the pixels would be transformed to a movement, some of the pixels would remain the same. That movement was easy. Or some object being or flying in or something. That was the original, initial days of NVIDIA coming with the GPU. Later they found that when we are converting text or statistical data or images to the numeric data, it is very easy to store them in a form that we call as a vector. Vector is almost close to our understanding as a matrix, but matrices are, we think of matrices as two-dimensional or three-dimensional, but vectors are highly dimensional. So I may have a vector which is 100-dimensional vector. So it's almost close to a matrix which is having 100 different dimensions, but all of them can be parallelized. So this similarity between the type of data that we were processing from the images, basically that was brought to or artificial intelligence, where first thing convert your data to a vector and then apply it to a GPU for training. ChatGPT is the easiest for. How many of you have used ChatGPT? Five? Or everyone? Don't say nobody. No, whosoever says, "No, I haven't used it," they'll be lying probably. What do you use ChatGPT for? Class notes, lectures, plans. What is the weirdest you have put ChatGPT to? Anything which is not out of the normal, which you say that it's very absurd, but I still was able to use chat to do it.
Time pass. Time pass. Rephrasing is my son actually used it. He typed it and getting more like stop. So ChatGPT asked the question. So what you were doing? I think he was studying. That's why I didn't really got so he said yes. Then he started talking about the biking, the racing.
It is so nice.
आजकल वो गिवी इमेज के लिए जनरेट करने के लिए कर रहे हैं लोग अपने फेशियल पिक्चर खुद ही ओपन एआई को दे रहे हैं.
People use ChatGPT a lot of ways. There used to be a thing, something that we call as ego surfing earlier. Ego surfing was when I would search Google to find all references to myself. That was the term that people would use some time back. That how many times are you appearing on the internet in a search that relates to your name? How many of them are, or how far do you come in that? अभी ChatGPT से लोग अपने बारे में पूछते हैं based on the interaction that I have done with you so far. How do you see me as a person? What is the personality? What do you think of me? And you are asking a large language model. You are asking an application, what do you think about me? And surprisingly, it gives you a lot of insights. People are using it as a psychiatrist. People are using it as a personal trainer. Okay, I'll give you one use case, which you may probably do. What I did use for. prompt are, I've asked it to create a 1300 calorie meal program for using only vegetarian ingredients, having high protein to carb ratio, using a lot of variety of food, create a meal plan for the first 2 weeks in a tabular format, day-wise and meal-wise. Am I asking it too much to do? Let's check it out. And this is verified. Trust me, it is verified. It's something that I could instantly check that yes, this is correct. But what I have not asked is that give me individual calorie counts for each of the meals. So there were two parts to the prompt. One, there was detail that what did I want to do. Second, what are the options that I have to work with? Third, what is the format that I want the output to be? So, if I would simply remove the tabular format, secondly, they would require to give it as much detail as possible. If I wanted to add in that I want to need the nutritional value of every item that you are suggesting, given me the calorific value of each individual item in the breakup of carbs, protein, and sugar or fat. That was again 3 people. Right? So it's not here. It's generic. That means it has learned from a lot of data which is working this way. Right? So whenever you are using ChatGPT for a Ghibli model image generation now, please stop doing it. ChatGPT is the worst of the worst amongst all the LLMs that we use. There are several reasons for that, and that is why they are bringing something very popular, like bringing generation of art. So every second image that you see on LinkedIn today or on Instagram today would be a Ghiblified image of you with your family or something or the else. But that is simply diverting you from one factor, that ChatGPT is not very good with what it does anymore. There are models which are working far better than this. There are models which are specifically for image generation which have been doing this for very long. So ChatGPT is just bringing it out to those people who want to experience that how image generation works. For image generation, we will have a very good session with Fazil sir when we have session 4. So Fazil is working with images, videos, anything multimedia. We will have a complete session on that. But for the time being, let's about the large language models only. ChatGPT does not give you many options except there are two. If I would have given the same query, but I would say if asking to reason, and then it would take longer. It would now start thinking of its own. That what has the user asked me. Basically, it does not show the complete reasoning process, but it does. The same task, more or less. And you can upload a file from your computer. It takes a PDF. It would not take a Word, most probably. It would not. It might take an image file if you paste it directly with ChatGPT interface. You copy the file, paste it to ChatGPT. It does that. It would pick it from the link. You can connect it to your Google Drive. That works whenever I am having a lot of data which need to be input. So, but do not do this part unless and until you create a separate Google Drive. So one more thing I wanted to tell you about LLMs is that most of the organizations are training their people not to use LLM for any task where proprietary data is involved. Anything which contains your personal information, never give it to ChatGPT. One, not your address, not your phone number. It trains, it learns from it back. Right? Never give it information which is specific to a department which you do not want it to go, or which is sensitive, or which is confidential. any data which you give, it will inadvertently it is going to pick it, make it a part of its own training process, learn from it, store it. So all the technical organizations which are generating software, they have prohibited the use of the LLMs application in their offices. But what they are moving on to is, I showed you a large language model which was Llama plus a small C file. I could run it locally. I don't need to go on the internet for that. So LLMs can be, because they are software. If I have enough compute available on my machine, I can install it on my computer. I can run it using a small file written in C or in Java or in Python, and I would be able to still do all of these tasks which I am doing online. So when techies are using it, they would simply have something related only to their own system. They keep the LLM running on their machine, not beyond that. Okay. So that is much about ChatGPT. Let us take a different one. ChatGPT के साथ एक इशू है, इसमें आपको पूरे में कहीं पे रेफरेंस नहीं मिलेगी getting the data from, right? Unless and until I tell it to, it doesn't give you references. कि what is the data source, where is it coming from? For this and only this reason, Perplexity came into picture. Perplexity is the second LLM. This has a lot of features. I created a set of notes last night. Within 15 minutes before sending that to you. Vinay sir, have you already sent that?
Yes.
I shared a set of notes आपके WhatsApp page. Perplexity created a set of notes. What is LLM? Some questions that I needed to talk to it about something. Let us recreate something, anything related to what is a foundational model. Alright? I'll create it so that you see what are the and the way it gives you an answer, not just the answer. So this is ChatGPT on an overdrive. What it does, it's not only giving you the answer to the question you asked, it is also telling you what are the sources it is have to come up to that answer. So if you want citation, if you want that this is the data that I want to be actual, it should not be coming from hallucination, I use Perplexity. Perplexity has become so popular these days that I stopped using Google search. I don't use Google search anymore. Because Google search would give you a search option. You have to still collect information. If you're going to give it 30 or 40 links, वो link से आप information collect करके then you are going to create another document that you require. Perplexity does the same job, but it would answer your question. It would give you all the sources also, and it would allow you to give all related images, videos, etc. Next. This was a pro search. I could have gone into a deep research. Let us ask a new question. And let us check what deep research is. So my question is explain the outlook for OpenAI as a company and give you some context. ChatGPT was the flagship product which came in the first of all. It had a first mover advantage. Everybody knew ChatGPT. Everybody knows. Most of us have never gone beyond ChatGPT as a LLM application. But some couple of months back, DeepSeek was launched by a Chinese group of developers. DeepSeek was giving you a complete thought process on how it is working. It was researching your question well more, it was taking more number of sources, it was adding in a lot of information which you never had prior coming with ChatGPT, and it instantly became a sensation. So OpenAI had a challenge now, and that is the challenge I want to understand, that whether it is an existential crisis for them, whether they have some geopolitical implication, whether there are some financial implications also for the OpenAI as a parent company of ChatGPT, whether they will be able to survive or whether their stock goes down, because the stock did go down for a very long amount of time. After DeepSeek was launched, OpenAI stocks were So I am using deep research here. It would take roughly 30 minutes to thoroughly research, analyze and reflect. It takes up to sometimes 150 sources before it answers your question. Next. So it has found several articles, reading from them. It is just keeping on adding, just keep an eye on the sources. It's going to keep on adding sources. After asking questions, it keeps asking follow-up questions to those answers which come, and then keep building up the answer that is supposed to give it back to you. From 20, now it has reached up to 38 sources. And it's just taking information, processing it, asking counter questions when it sees anything which is out of the league that it has gone to. Now it starts thinking. It is just compiling all the information from the several sources it is getting. Based on the three keywords, I asked it for financial, existential and geopolitical implications of what is supposed to work. And then start. It gives you a geopolitical implication, geopolitical and tech rivalry, the security concerns, regulatory responses. All of them come with sources. You would be able to hover on a specific source wherever it cites, see what the source it is citing from, what is the source of this information which is providing to you, and then only it is going to go further beyond that. Then financial outlook, so market reception and investor reaction. So $589 billion loss was there to OpenAI after this was launched. Now those implications also you could find and bring in picture. Then long-term financial existential challenges. DeepSeek is an existential challenge to OpenAI business model. This distinguishes it from the OpenAI because they are open source. They call them open source. They are not open source again. Open source versus closed sources. We saw a model earlier, Llama. Llama I could install on my machine, I could run it with a small program. That was the pure open source model that it is available to people that if you want to change it, if you want to make any additions to it, you can do it. I have given you the complete source code, I have given you the code to run the model, so that was open source. DeepSeek says what? That we are going to allow you to use it. We are going to say that you have the access to the code but you can't modify it. So that was the challenge which they said. It's not a very open source policy. And the third is that you may have a closed source model like OpenAI. Nobody knows what ChatGPT works on, what have they been trained on. You cannot see that. You cannot ask them that how is your model working, what are the parameters you are training it on. That part is a closed. So between these, OpenAI came with a strategy. That was the reason why Elon Musk was investing in them originally. That they said that we are going to make AI open for everyone. Whatever models we are going to train, we are going to release it to the public. We are never going to go commercial. Sam Altman, initially, he was of the same thought that we will never go commercial. And now, they are asking for $20 for a basic subscription, $200 for a advanced, and $2,000 for the multi-advanced model that they are launching out with for corporates, which nobody is buying so far. Because deep research works better than that. So DeepSeek is a model which works better. Please let me know whenever you want a break. We are continuing with this.
I want to know your suggestions actually. In what way you people have already operated ChatGPT or any other LLM, and we want to know your experience.
Your challenge is also. I
Yes, sir.
initially asked that. Give me a problem that this is something I want to do with a AI.
Because Sachin told
And we find a solution here
the
together.
confidential data it cannot give. Once I asked ChatGPT whether really Modi was invited for a Trump's ceremony or not. Because Congress was telling Modi was not at all invited. Right. Next day I asked it. I cannot answer. That was the answer given by ChatGPT. I cannot answer. You believe it or not? You call it as a hallucination? No, it is not a hallucination. Getting my point? So such experiences you have to share. What exactly, where is the knowledge cut off? Because one day myself and Sachin, I don't know, is come on there. Kareena Kapoor ka husband. Saif. Saif was, attempt was there, right? So 10 o'clock, I asked ChatGPT whether Saif is attacked. No information. I asked Gemini, no answer. Only GROK, only Grok can answer that Saif was attacked. So that was a knowledge cutoff. These are the examples for the knowledge cutoff. So we want to know exactly how far you have tried and you have experienced such knowledge cutoff or confidentiality, hallucination. Sometimes, whatever way you got the help, for example, I asked ChatGPT or any LLM. I am working as a senior clerk in a government office. My salary is 70,000. I told somebody. My salary is around 70,000. I have got 2 kids. Their school expenses are there, family expense is there. So I just recommend me a 4-wheeler for me. Then my purpose was to check what is the memory of the LLM. I keep on asking and whether it will keep the earlier question in the memory or not. Okay, that was my intention. I wrote this prompt as an ordinary clerk. It went on giving answer, looking to your salary and all that, better go for a wagon or then I told some other expenses. Then he told better go for a second-hand car. Then again I told better go for a CNG. Second-hand may CNG don't do. Then again I made some other expenses I forgotten. Then he told better go for ICICI Bank where instead of 6 years, now they are considering 7 years so that your EMI will come down. To that extent it made calculation. The last question I put, I forgotten my sister's marriage is there where I have to spend around 20 lakhs, then enjoy a Ola ride. Very nicely it gave the answer. See, that means nearly 10 questions I asked, all the 10 questions, the memory was intact. Okay, such experiences we want to know. Otherwise, we are not teaching to any student. We are talking to.
So we use roughly close to 200 different applications in AI. Out of that, 25, 30 very frequently, almost on a daily basis. For different things that we do, not just. So Grok, since I took it up, Yunus Khan, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, said something controversial just yesterday. Most of the LLM application would not be able to pick it out. But when I asked it to Grok, it would pick up information from all news websites, it would pick up information from all the Twitter. Because Twitter is, by Grok works very fast as compared to other websites, that they are integrated with Twitter. Their knowledge base is not just the other news site, their knowledge base is Twitter. And Twitter is a program, a platform where you have information coming by the minute. Whatever happens in any part of the world, earthquake came, people put it on Twitter, any information. The first thing Twitter is going to be the first platform to able to see. क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपका content micro है. You can just write a small number of words, go on Twitter, and if a lot of people are writing about that, then it would be able to make a response based on what is happening. It also analyzes that what is the sentiment of what did he do, what did it happen, that how was he able to irritate India as a country. So this is what opinion it is going to give you. So Grok is, in one sense, bad. You wouldn't give it to your kids.
So can you compare all the these platforms on the basis of the 5 meter something that is there any limitation to
About Grok,
about all the three, all the people?
for every large language model there would be a cutoff. ChatGPT, when you are enabling it to access internet, it will get information from internet. If the information is not even widespread on the internet, Grok works. Even then. So anything which you want in a real-time information, Grok is usually the best to work with. It also generates images, like you can see. I took in the application, initially I made the comic, I did not tell that this is the name I want to use. It picked up a name, which I simply gave it to Kai. I wanted to change the name back to my own. I gave it to Grok. It edited the image, the text in the bubble, and it would still be able to give it back to me. So Grok is free of cost to use if you have a Twitter account. But it's very useful for real-time information whenever you would want to have something. Second thing which I got it good from Grok, numerical questions, like I was having struggle with questions related to confusion metrics. Machine learning में हम लोग एक concept पढ़ाते हैं that how to evaluate model, which is rather numeric on this side. ChatGPT did it wrong, Gemini did it wrong, Grok was the only one which could do it correct. So if you have a question, a problem which is more mathematical to be solved, I would prefer Grok over all the remaining models. So far. Right. Sometimes the others also work good, but I prefer to always compare. Every time I have a numerical problem, I would give it to 3 different LLM applications. I would see which one of them work best with it. I'll continue with जो हमारे क्वेश्चन है
Whether it is using Google Cloud or there is another cloud, ये मतलब कहाँ data store है? आप कभी मतलब
किसका data?
तो आप जैसे ChatGPT लेते हैं, मैं उसको data का data, मेरा screen आती है, उसका मेरा आलम, मैं उसमें click करके जैसे मैं 5 दिन तक देखना है, पूरा data वैसे होता है, कहाँ store होता है?
See, what my thought is that this information, I'll come back to the question. Just give me a minute. Because this is asked, I have to go back to the time when we started with ChatGPT as an alpha. That was something I told you about. Initially, ChatGPT came out with a 1024 token window. Okay, that token window was that how many number of characters or words or sounds I can be able to give it to ChatGPT, and it would give me a response. So the context window was 1024 words, right? Or 1024 token. Consider them as words for the practical what? कि 1024 वर्ड. अब वो 1024 वर्ड में क्या क्या आएगा? The question which I asked, what did you do? Can do is a question. The answer it is going to give me is again becoming a part of the context window. ठीक है? यहाँ तक ओके. I ask it a second question. What did he do to irritate India? अभी मेरे पास पहला क्वेश्चन था who is Yunus का? What did he do? Done. सेकंड क्वेश्चन मैंने फॉलो अप दिया, व्हाट डिड यू डू टू इरिटेट हिम? दिस क्वेश्चन बिकम्स अ पार्ट ऑफ द कंटेक्स्ट विंडो. अब मेरी कंटेक्स्ट विंडो में 2 क्वेश्चन और एक आंसर है. द आंसर इट गिव्स दैट आल्सो बिकम्स अ पार्ट ऑफ द कंटेक्स्ट विंडो. और मेरी कंटेक्स्ट विंडो में 2 क्वेश्चन और 2 आंसर है. ठीक है. द सब्सिक्वेंट क्वेश्चन व्हिच आई एम गोइंग टू आस्क, द थर्ड क्वेश्चन, उसके साथ उसे पिछले वाली सारी इंफॉर्मेशन भी चाहिए, बिकॉज इट नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द कंटेक्स्ट. क्योंकि अगर मैंने थर्ड क्वेश्चन पूछा दैट हाउ डिड पीपल इन इंडिया रिएक्ट टू इट, अब हाउ डिड पीपल इन इंडिया रिएक्ट टू व्हाट, उससे पहले वाले 2 क्वेश्चन अगर उसे नहीं पता तो आंसर नहीं दे सकता. ठीक है. दैट मीन इट हैज टू लर्न द कंटेक्स्ट आल्सो फ्रॉम व्हाट फॉर द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सेकंड फॉलो अप क्वेश्चन क्या था, फर्स्ट का आंसर क्या था, सेकंड का आंसर क्या था. नाउ इट कैन आंसर दैट द थर्ड क्वेश्चन व्हिच आई एम आस्किंग. ठीक, मैं कंटेक्स्ट को भूल गया, व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट एंड द थर्ड क्वेश्चन, बट समरी ऑफ दैट इज दैट it would be able to maintain a conversation keeping the previous history into mind only as long as the context window works good. जहाँ भी मेरी context window full हुई, it is going to overflow on the top. ऊपर वाली सारी information भूलेगा. Right? अब how much do I want it to remember or process would depend on this context window. The second version of ChatGPT came, they raised the context window to 2048 token. They doubled it. So instead of 4 question, I could now ask it 8 question. तो जो एप्लीकेशन हम लोग कोड कर रहे थे, that application used to, हम लोग पाइथन में एक लिस्ट बनाते थे, वो लिस्ट में स्टोर करते जाते थे. जो भी क्वेश्चन हम पूछ रहे हैं उसके आंसर जो आ रहे हैं वो सब लिस्ट में डाल के वापस उसको दिया, बट उसकी कंटेक्स्ट विंडो में स्टोर रहता था. तो सिंपलेस्ट एप्लीकेशन में जो भी हम पूछते हैं दैट एक्चुअली बिकम्स अ पार्ट ऑफ द एप्लीकेशन कैशे, दैट दिस इज व्हाट द यूजर इज आस्किंग जब तक आपकी कॉन्वर्सेशन चल रही है. लेकिन मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द टाइम जब आपके लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडल जिन पे आप काम कर रहे हो, चैट जीपीटी और परप्लेक्सिटी और व्हाटएवर, बिकॉज दे आर स्टोरिंग इट फॉर द कॉन्वर्सेशन, यू कैन रिकॉल इट बैक. राइट? आप अगर 1 महीने पहले आपने क्या पूछा था वो स्क्रॉल कर रहे हो मैसेजेस की लिस्ट में थे, आप वो देख सकते हो. If you can keep that conversation, you can retrieve that conversation, that means it has certainly been stored on the cloud. That is why you can retrieve it back. जब तक मेरे पास वो context window नहीं थी या जब तक मैं cloud पे store नहीं कर रहा था, तब तक मैं एक conversation रख सकता था. लेकिन जब मैंने close किया मेरे को बाकी conversation नहीं मिल रही. So we had to manually create another application on the top of it जो मेरी सारी conversation को अलग-अलग data structure में store करके रखता था. तो नेक्स्ट टाइम जब मुझे पिछली कन्वर्सेशन देखनी है तो वो मेरे सिस्टम पे ही थी, दैट वाज नेवर ऑन द क्लाउड. बट लेटेस्ट ChatGPT came in another version, context window they increased to 8000 word. At the same time it also ensured कि जो भी कन्वर्सेशन आप कर रहे हो वो सारी की सारी सेव होती जाए on the cloud, which it can be retrieved from. So unless you now delete a conversation explicitly, it stays with ChatGPT. It stays with perplexity, it stays with DeepSeek, it stays with every large language model that you use. They keep on storing that information in the cloud for the only purpose that data is the new form of world. जितना ज़्यादा डेटा उनके पास है, उतना ज़्यादा वो सीख सकते हैं. So any intelligent conversation that they have, they will learn from. They will keep it in their cloud storage. They will extract good points from it and learn. So IT manager asked for a break, and I'm breaking. For what? 10 minutes, Vinay sir? And do we have tea?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So Google is not on the list of search engines that are used anymore. In addition, you can create spaces, right? There is a specific topic that you want to keep researching about. So Perplexity आपको एक और ऑप्शन देता है, जिसको मैं बोलता हूँ spaces. Spaces are something like that. You can give it a specific prompt. You can give it a set of resources. Check. So there are files here which are a collection of everything that Warren Buffett, whatever decision that he made public. So we have 4 files related to that. We are giving an instruction like a prompt. You are Warren Buffett. Any question you are asked, base your response on the Buffett letter, say book the page. Who is the style and works of Warren Perfect. And it is going to do exactly that. Let us check what it should say. Should I write? I'm asking, should I buy NVIDIA stock after the DeepSeek? This is a stock investment type of thing that I need to ask an expert. I can go for a deep research, I can go for a pro account. I'll just go for a pro search here. This is going to confine it to my space. It consolidates everything related to this specific part only onto this page. So it does not, it's something like compartmentalizing your searches based on a specific space that you want it to be in. You can give it a persona that this is the person I want to implement, or these are the resources from which I want to have information like that. Okay. So this is the second good feature which perplexity gives. Alright. There is a third feature that you may choose a model. If you have a pro account, you would be able to choose between Solar or 3.7, GPT-4, Gemini Flash, Grok 2. For reasoning, you have different models to be able to choose. And finally, you can select sources for research. So, we have three kinds of sources. What would interest you as an academician would be that you may want to research only academic papers based on your query. Instead of searching the web, you may search for academic results. This helps you find out those papers which have this specific topic or content that you are searching for mentioned. You can even search social whenever you want to search for what is happening across the social media, what is trending, what is not in trend anymore. So you may choose between which one of the search that you, or you may choose multiple. So you may have a web plus an academic, that also, they are not exclusive, you can choose multiple there. Lastly, with perplexity, what we also did was create a page. So just go to library. Library holds all the previous searches that you have done. Plus there is a concept called a page. Right? So I want to create a blog or something about
what would we create a blog about?
let us create a blog about generative AI in academics. Okay. I'm just giving it a title that what is the title of my page. It is generative AI in academia. It gives me an image on the top. It is creating a plan there. So AI driven adaptive testing, gamified learning with AI tools, AI powered collaborative projects, and so forth. Just adding information. Yeah. This was the way I created a set of notes that we had shared. But it's not only this much. What it further gives you is, you can insert a section, add a media. When you click on a media, it is going to search for and allow you to change the images that you can use with your own project. It is also allowing you to insert a section. Now I want to say what is the use of LLMs in the same. I'm just adding it. I can make it a media plus text, media only. I can ask it to generate a table or a list, and I can decide whether my response should be detailed or concise. So let us take in a detailed response here and add. So this is the second section that I wanted to add. You can keep asking it to add sections wherever necessary, and it is going to create a set of notes that you can share with your students based on the topic. Further to it, I don't like this. Let us say this one. Select it. So I asked to paraphrase this. It is simply going to rewrite that part which I have worked on, change it to something else, keeping the essence same, and should still work. So this is the best way that I would work with a perplexity model in spaces to compartmentalize whatever searches you are doing. So your one research paper can be in one space, your second research paper can be in the other space. Once you can have all the resources. If you want to create a set of notes that you want to share with your students, generate it fast, quick, dirty, make edits later, use the perplexity pages, they are shareable. So the best part is I can publish this, using the publish, I can share the link to everyone and everybody would be able to see. Instead of sharing a Google Doc or another document, you can create a perplexity page. Right? You may check the content, you may edit the content at any point of time, you may individually change. So I want to add a definition also here. Define LLM first. You get the gist. You'll be able to basically take it, select a specific part of the text and modify it. It would always give you another prompt where you can work on the specific part of that. Okay. So it is suggesting you images which you can keep changing, or you can ask it to generate, search for your own video, upload your own image to be included in the form of that work. Fine. Let us leave perplexity. Perplexity is not what we change that they are allowing you different models. So whatever we do in ChatGPT, we can do perplexity. You choose the GPT-4o. Whatever we do with Google, you can do with perplexity. You choose the Gemini 2.0. Whatever we do with Claude, you can do with perplexity. Same. Choose that model. So you can choose the models from within this. Next, we'll take up another one. How about let us create a website? Claude from Anthropic is a web page tool which allows you to do three things. You can use it to create code. It is a web platform. You want to write code in Python, Java, any programming language. So far this is the best tool that you would be having. Secondly, you may use Claude for creating something another more interesting that you call as artifacts. Artifacts are like, let us try to create a website for Cat5 program using this. Alright. So what I would require you to do is, I just create a new prompt. Or rather, So I am now trying to create a quiz on generative AI. It could be any website instead. I'll ask it to use HTML, CSS and JavaScript, make it self-grading and give it the prompt. This is on a free plan. We are not making any paid tools yet. So on the fly, on one hand it is creating the script for the code. This is writing your CSS code in the background, it is writing your HTML code in the background also. That's not the only good part. The good part is, after I have created the quiz, I would be able to assign it to the student who can immediately take the test and would be able to check what did they score. So it is not creating the website alone, it is also creating a set of questions with their answers, which is the correct answer. Everything is being handled at the same time. So the model is very advanced. What 3-point sonnet is considered to be the best among the programming models these days. With time, things keep on changing. But, alright. So let us see the quiz. I can publish it and send you a copy. I can publish a copy. Open it in another window. It would give you a warning first that you are going to a perplexing shortage originated. So who wants to take the quiz? I'm just marking them at random, not checking what I am answering for the sake of time. I could have told it how many number of questions you want. It has to be 10 by default. It could have been 5, it could have been 20 questions also. And once I submit, it is just marking all those questions which were correct with green, all those questions which were incorrect with red, showing me the correct option also. So this is shareable. That I can pass on the link to all the students in the classroom. They can take the quiz and they will be able to self-evaluate themselves on the basis of what code we have just generated. To see what all it has eliminated. I do not need a web server to host my website, that has gone. I do not need to learn how to code to make my website, that is gone. I do not need to find a set of questions first that what to assign to my student, that has also gone. All of that combined into one single prompt that is allowing you to create a website, that is allowing you to publish that website, store it in cloud, ask the set of questions, and the set of questions can be answered immediately. Next, if you wanted a quiz based on a specific set of notes, we would be able to upload them. Yes, you can. You want to?
If I'm sending this quiz to my students, then I'm not getting the data back that the student is getting this one.
Okay, this coming from IT faculty is good. Why would you not get the data back? Or why should you not? So far, my quiz was basically HTML, CSS and JavaScript, nothing more. These tools allow you to interact with a web page on the fly, which is stored somewhere. आप रिजल्ट देख सकते हो, लेकिन इसमें से कुछ भी स्टोर नहीं हो रहा है. The marks are not getting stored anywhere. If I want this quiz to be able to store results also or send them back to me, I would need to add a backend, some database or some JSON file in which all the results are stored. तो वो part जब तक नहीं करेंगे तब तक, and we can do that also with some other tool. Right. So this is the second type of.
और ये Google Form से भी कर सकते हैं हम add-ons करके उसमें स्टोर हो जाता है.
That will be a better feature.
Okay. I created your quiz with Google Forms as an add-on. I generated a quiz, imported it using that works. Yeah. But there we were using 3 different tools. We used one generative AI to create a question set, an answer. We might use the tool again to set it into a format which the plugin would take. We then use a plugin to import them and then we manually correct them if there are errors.
नहीं मैनेज करेक्टली करना पड़ता है.
अगर errors है तो what it did, that first time I created the quiz, it took the question, all the choices at the same time और नीचे ऑप्शन ब्लैंक छोड़े थे क्योंकि वो choices were supposed to be capital A, capital B, capital C.
अगर आप एड-ऑन्स के थ्रू जनरेट करते हो तो वो नहीं ऐसे आपको चॉइस भी डालनी नहीं होती, वो ऑलरेडी आंसर सिलेक्ट होते हैं.
I have that. I pass you the quiz right working. So Claude is the one set of tools which you can use for coding, but it has a small context window. So it should not be able to generate a large set of what all we did generate with it. I'll show you that. To what extent can it work? In my last workshop at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj University, we created a PRD. PRD means a product requirement document. When we are generating software, this is a document that allows us to create a set of requirements that this is what is required to do. You can do the product requirement document with electrical, electronic, mechanical, any department that whichever you require. But once you have a PRD and this you give to creation of a website, it would be able to create a website for you, and we have created a lot using that PRD. I went to what? This is a website for code, specific code. I don't know whether you should be using this or not. Now this is something that is causing good trouble to all of my CSC students. Reddit is a platform which you can give a command and it will create a software for you. Front end, back end, API connection, everything included. So nothing hooks here. I will check out the apps which I have created. So this was an application that because what Claude did was a product requirement document. With the help of it, I gave that PRD to complete. That please create a software for me based on this PRD. So my first LLM was giving me a PRD. My second application, which was on a LLM, is basically a coding-based application. This created a complete product based on the requirement specification that I gave to. I hope it opens too. So this is why I say that knowing multiple AI tools is necessary. Which one to do, which specific task you would always require to work with. In the meanwhile that it loads, I give you something that you can help your, how many of your kids are in school? How many of them tell you to, mommy teach me this or dad teach me that? और मैंने पढ़ा है तुझसे इसके बारे में क्वेश्चन आंसर पूछो. How many of you do love to do that? That is what I was saying. Nobody likes it. ठीक है बेटा तूने पढ़ा है मुझे पता है. When you are coming to me and asking कि please मुझसे पूछ लो इसका मतलब you know I am busy and you are coming just because you are telling कि मैंने पढ़ लिया है मगर आपके पास टाइम नहीं है तो you just want to create complex. I don't want to do anything like that. So when my daughter in class 10th asked me, Papa मैंने social science ये पढ़ लिया है, अब please मुझसे इस पे question पूछो. I created her a system which she now uses for everything that she Done. Let me try to run the system. And this is a complex software. I mean, it is not going to be something easy. It's actually a system which takes an image, captures all the nutrient information from it, keeps a track of whatever you are eating, stores all of that, आपकी complete monthly calories, intake, everything, and you can talk to other people also. Let it load. Let us go back to. Okay. So here is the notebook that I created for her. This tool is called Notebook 11. For a student, there is nothing better than this. For somebody who wants to work with multiple documents, there is nothing better than this. If you want your data to be localized to only your machine, you don't want the system to be able to talk to any other data. I want the answers only from this set of data. Notebook is the one resource that you should work on. If I have to work on my MBA documentation, I would feed all the department data to Notebook 11 and I would ask it specific questions criteria wise. That this is the question that I need to be answered. Notebook 11 does very easily. Right? Here is the rise of nationalism. The chapter which I have taken is from history textbook of class 10. NCERT की वेबसाइट पे आपको सारे चैप्टर मिलेंगे. Every book, every chapter you will find. ठीक है? Let us now do something. First thing is, see there is a button called mind map. Let me make it bigger. First thing is you see there is a mind map button there. Correct? This creates something like this. So for the rise of nationalism, the basic are these. From that, each one of them is further expandable into more. If you want to tell your what to study point wise and check whether they have completed all the points within that, you can just create a mind. Right? This is what? This is the easiest feature of this. Going on ahead, that we wanted to now see a study guide to this chapter. It is generating it in the background based on one source. If you would create a briefing, this would, okay, here is a study guide. This is a briefing document that in summary, अगर मुझे chapter 3 revise करना है at the end of my exam, I just need the briefing. Then I go back to studio, I see the timeline that what did happen in the history. Here is the detailed timeline from 1789 to 1914. What all events happened where? Fine. I also want to now ask it who was the kindest ruler in Europe? That's the question which I am asking. Now this is going to answer it on the basis of only the chapter which I have included. It's not possible to identify the kindest ruler. It focuses on the rise of nationalism. So absolute monarch, Napoleon is portrayed as someone who destroyed democracy in France, but also introduced revolutionary principles. Something, whatever my question would be. So I would be able to give it individual CBSE questions also, that this is a question I don't want to search anywhere, but only from this chapter, and I find the answer. And you can save it in the form of a note. That this is a question that you asked. You can add note, you can take to note. That means whatever questions which you have asked and it has answered, you can save them in the form of notes. Yeah. The most interesting part is the audio overview. Achha, the study guide we have left with. Okay. Yeah. So your study guide says there is a quiz, 2-3 sentences with an answer key. There are essay format questions, glossary of key terms, all of them. Further, each of these are telling you where is it coming from the book, which particular part was allowing me to have this answer. So you can click on this and it would be able to tell you where the answer comes from. So which part of the chapter, you can just highlight that citation wherever they are available. Where is it coming from within the chapter also, that works. And the most interesting part is this. So audio overview is a conversation between two people explaining the complete chapter. The next generation which we have, they want podcasts. This creates a podcast. The complete chapter becomes a podcast. So my daughter listens to it first. So now she started economics for class 11. She is listening to the economic chapter first. Then she start asking it questions. And asking questions how? I try to show the interactive mode is now. Interactive mode is conversation between two people which you can stop and ask your own question also. So it makes it all conversational style instead of reading it. I hope I have enough bandwidth to run it. This is simply doing what? It is allowing you to hear the chapter as a conversation between two. Right? At any point of time, when you feel that I need to ask something, what you do is, there is a button called join here. Click on join, ask your question, they will answer your question first and then only move forward. So this is the most useful tool when you talk to, और ऐसा नहीं इसमें एक ही सोर्स है. We have added one source. अगर मेरे पास 4 बुक्स है अलग अलग पब्लिशर की और मेरे को चारों में से बेस्ट पॉसिबल आंसर निकालना चाहता हूँ, तो I will add all of them 4 as sources here. ठीक है? Going back to context window. ChatGPT, I told you the context window was 8,000 words roughly. ठीक? इसी context window 1 million tokens है. That means you give it a large book, it works without any problem. So the context window part for Google products is far more than any of the other large language models. तो आप क्लॉडे यूज कर रहे हो, क्लॉडे की कंटेक्स्ट विंडो छोटी है. आप चैट जीपीटी यूज कर रहे हो, उसकी कंटेक्स्ट विंडो छोटी है. परप्लेक्सिटी की कंटेक्स्ट विंडो छोटी है. इनकी कंटेक्स्ट विंडो ह्यूज. दे आर टॉकिंग ऑफ 1 million टोकन. यू कैन ऐड 10 books of a particular subject to one conversation. It works comfortably well. बाकी सब में चल जाता है मोस्टली. न्यूमेरिकल कैलकुलेशन अभी चैट LLMs का स्ट्रेंथ नहीं है, बट ओके. नेक्स्ट ऑन द लाइन इज, I don't know whether you have used it or not. This is Google AI Studio. Google AI Studio basically is a product which is for testing. It is not an application in its own might. So any model of Google we want to test, we can choose. The token count is, I told you, 1 million tokens. That means I have a very huge window of updating text here. for the ITS program, I don't know how many of you are enrolled. We have a program in Agra that is on Indian knowledge system, and we were expected to submit a paper to that, some manuscript which talks about Indian knowledge systems and all. The hard part was that I can write in English. I don't know Hindi. I don't understand how to write in Hindi. I do understand Hindi, but I can't write well in Hindi. So I wanted to convert whatever I had written into Hindi because it was flowing easily. There are Sanskrit references in the ITS paper that we wrote. So what did we do? We went to this AI studio. We uploaded the complete paper there, and we asked it to convert it into a Hindi document. And I hope you can read it. This is a beautifully written Hindi article without actually having to know. And it just doesn't work only for Hindi, you can change it to different languages. This is the first use of it. The second use of it is that let us go back to the studio and screen read. You can talk to them. Talk in the sense, if you want the student to be preparing for some interview, I want to get interviewed on machine learning or fluid learning or whatever be your subject. I'm not going into very good prompts now and just simply asking it to interview me on machine learning.
Let's start with understanding of the basics. What is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning?
So supervised learning is supervised learning is with the labels that are there on data, while unsupervised learning does not have any labels and it can learn patterns on its own without having data. And it is not only that you can talk to it in voice.
Supervised learning uses
You
labels.
can open stream real time in a video mode. So the last person which I gave it to, I gave it a custom instruction that please keep checking that the person does not pick the cell phone to answer. It was looking at the person, asking it questions, at the same time checking whether the person was trying to cheat or not. Even that is feasible with your API that you have. So the second question came in. So you are saying that supervised learning uses labels in data. Can you explain further how these labels are used? And it can keep on. You can tell it that I want the question to be harder. I want the question to be easier. You can interact with it. Then there is in the stream real time mode only. You can show them anything. Alright, what do you see? Do you see any change now happening on the screen? And keeps a track record of your conversations in the form of small video clips that would keep stored during. Now, when you close this, it's not going to keep them stored because it's too much data to be stored on the cloud. No company can afford that. So many people trying it, so many people keeping on a record. That becomes a problem for the third thing which you can do with it is you can show it your screen. I'm not doing that, but it is possible. Allow it to share window, show it your screen, ask it what do you see on the screen, or analyze this picture which is available on my screen, or analyze this data set which is available on my screen, convert this data set from a picture to a table which I would be able to analyze later. Everything works. Right? So this is Gemini. Let's try using it for a lot of different purposes that you will do. Check out this part. You can see which models are we having. So this is Gemini 2 Flash Experimental. The output form can be audio or text. The voice can be changed from here. Which one voice do you want? If I am going back to this, so you can see which are the different models available. So, fortunately for us, we had one YouTube video which had a complete 3 hours recording of the second session. We picked that video, we gave it to an AI, we asked the AI to extract the complete speech of the entire proceedings from that. And because fortunately for us, there was always a speaker who would introduce that so and so is going to speak now. उसके बाद उसकी स्पीच है, then so and so is going to speak now, उसके बाद उसकी स्पीच है, and so what it happened. We had a perfect script for what we would require. I downloaded that complete script. It's still on my machine somewhere. I gave it to aistudio.google.com with a prompt that kindly convert this to a news reporting article containing all information in brief. So that 3 hours was beautifully condensed into a 1.5 page news article that we had to submit. All of this happened when we were sitting in a conference room. Namrata ma'am and Parul ma'am were sitting across. Sir, हम लोगों को ये वाली speech की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. This is the text that we require for our annual magazine. We were having a meeting, and while having a meeting, when they said it, I converted that from video to script, from script to a newsletter or news frame type, made it to them, then and there, and within 5 minutes of that talk happening, they had that complete article with them. Not 1 day, not 2 days, not 3 hours for me to listen to that complete conversation. Not required anymore. So the tools have certain advantages, true. But how are you using them would be the only advantage that you are going to have. Right. I'll show you certain prompts that people use. There's the prompt library that I have from some other GitHub. So here's a prompt that says, act as a venture capitalist and conduct a comprehensive analysis of some company. In addition to thoroughly analyze the company's traction, customers by examining financial traction metrics. Let us apply this prompt somewhere. Let us use DeepSeek now. I just copied the prompt, nothing more. Pasted it in DeepSeek. Now DeepSeek is a model from China. See how it thinks. It shows the reasoning process. So let's starting this comprehensive analysis as a venture capital. First I need to gather the necessary information from credible sources. Next, financial transaction or transaction. I need to look at their recent financials. So it is not just reasoning, it is also showing what reasoning is it doing. what kind of questions it is asking before it formulates a response to. This reasoning process is the one which makes it far better than any other large language model for reasoning question. This was one. There is a huge whole lot of prompt library which tells you about the different ways you can be using. Domain आपको choose करना है whether you want to use finance or to take that. SK का सर अभी यहाँ नहीं है. So somebody asked कि Reliance की stock portfolio की report क्या है? Somebody created an application around this part only. They call it u.com. अच्छा, this was the paper that we created. So ARI is an agent which analyzes up to 400 sources and polished reports in under 5 minutes. So if you want to take the stock situation of a company or what is the market reputation of a company, give it to an ARI model on u.com. It would search for 400 sources on that company name, create a report, submit a report to you, and you can use it. So what we got were a report on Reliance, a report on Nvidia, for all of that. And you can't expect that management shouldn't be able to do it so fast. Yeah. In the meanwhile, I am expecting some query that this is what we want to do with. Here is my application that we created. I'll show you in a new. This is zero code. And this is a warning bell for our computer science IT students who program. Because what was possible in 3 months earlier with a huge technical knowledge is now check this app out. This is the home page. There are the lead plans. This is tracking of the food based on photo, barcode, or manual. There are the recipe that you have, high protein. If I remove the filter, there is a possibility of a shopping list here that what do we need to have, and there is a nutrition education. All of this created from a single prompt that said summarize the objectives of user input, work on building a new for application, nothing more. Few सारा काम है, I did not write any of it. It just wrote the code by itself, created a complete application. It has a front end, it has a back end, it's having a database at the back end also, and it's replete. अगर मैं paid option लेता हूँ, I can upload this. तो आप अगर stock analyst हो, but आप अगर coder नहीं हो, और आप एक एप्लीकेशन बनाना चाहते हो जो स्टॉक एनालिस्ट की तरह लोग यूज कर सके, you will be able to now create even applications which you never thought because you are not a coder. Today I have a session with IEEE Smart City, and for that I created another application. This is this created an application for a smart city concept where whatever assets that we have, we want to be able to put that on a blockchain, check the status for each of the assets, what is the location, what is the sensor data. We can use it to update status and sensor data also. Where is it stored on the blockchain? Check out the blockchain also, where is the data being stored. Check the cost analysis of using this and check all the automated transactions that happen. And I haven't coded any single line of code from this. This is again created from artificial intelligence tool. तो अभी तक अगर आप डेटा एनालिसिस करते हो, डेटा एनालिसिस गॉन. अगर आप कोडिंग करते हो, कोडिंग इज गॉन. अगर आप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग करते हो, दैट इज द ओनली थिंग दैट वुड बी वर्कफाइल टू डू. So that is what I am asking you to. You will have a multiple number of tools. Which one do you use? What is the purpose you use it for? How how people create wrappers around these applications. So one specific question was about research papers. That how do we know? So somebody created a research paper wrapper. They call it size space. It's a kind of your large language model for research. Ask it a question about explainability in LLM. Give it a query. आपके डोमेन के कोई it handles all. So it gives you the answers from the top 5 papers. It also gives you a list of different papers on this topic, which you can sort on the basis of the year, which you can sort on the basis of the event, which you can check whether there is a PDF available or not, which you can check whether it open access available or not, and top paper. So you can select all these three and it would give you only those papers which are open access, where there is a PDF available, and then you can summarize. For each of these, I want contributions of this paper or objectives or finding or research gap. So for all of this, now we are going to add a column where the research gaps found in each one of these papers would be summarized. But this is a wrapper. This is a wrapper. That means somebody took a large language model, it created an application on the top of it, जो आपकी query pre-decide करके रखता है कि when I click this button, then you should be able to give the research gap. तो इस button के पीछे एक prompt है. Similarly, इसके button के पीछे एक prompt है. जो मैंने first query लिखी है, query को run करने के बाद take this topic. अगर मुझे एक LLM को देना हो, take this topic, find out the list of all the relevant research papers from the past 5 years in this domain related to this in a sorted order from the top to bottom. So I can do the same thing with using a Perplexity or Google LLM, but this does it by default for me. So इसके जो buttons हैं, they are having prompts behind them. Alright. Pick up a problem, let us solve it.
Sir, we want something like I want a podcast with a person in a way that there should not be a real person, and that artificial person will start asking questions for me, and I will give the answer, and in this way I can make a video.
He wants to have a AI like a podcast that should be able to ask questions to him. He should be able to answer, and they can record it. Right?
I want the questions which AI should ask for.
Whichever. What you require is, there are two things. One is either text to voice. That means Google LLM, Google AI Studio would work good for you. You can use it as stream real-time mode in the audio mode, and you can ask that record a podcast on this topic. You can start asking questions.
Can it show an imaginary person on the other hand so that when I start...
You can give it the system instruction persona that you are an expert podcast person. So that would come in the system instruction. Give it a persona that you are Lex Friedman, you are a podcast person, and we are talking today about the topic politics in India. So you can keep asking questions, I'll keep answering, keep a record of everything. That would be.
Is that person freely available, or I need to give a payment for that to purchase this particular requirement?
You just need to change the parameters, that what do you want it to be able to do. और आपकी instruction clear है, it would do. I don't see any more something like a problem that this is what we want to. We keep getting these problems every day. I mean, there is no day that we don't find a new use for some of the tools that we use. For creating your notes, I had to use it. for creating the previous set of notes that I used Canva. I asked it to create a cover design. It did that. I gave it that cat file logo that we have. We created it out of the LLMs only, based models, right? The comic strip which I created, that was created today. This is which one? Okay. If you want to create an image which suits your purpose, then you can use it. ये आपके साथ फर्जी डिस्कस करेगा, not me. But how to write good prompts would be something that you would require to learn. So prompts आपके तीन categories में हैं. There is normal prompt that you write. There is a zero shot. Zero shot is something that the first time we write something, we don't tell it any information. We just want it to give an answer. We give it certain information. It answers. Then there is a few shot prompt where we not only tell what to do, we also show it some example of how this is to be done. So I tell it that, can you solve the problem that Jack had 3 pieces of pizza, he eats one, how many are left with that? I show it with some numerical calculations and then pass it on. That would be few shots. There is a chain of thought reasoning now that we follow. So chain of thought reasoning is something like that. I ask it to reason. I would ask it to deeply think about the problem before answering it. अब इसका reason है. LLMs can be either fast, that most of the LLMs have been trained to give you answers which are fast. But if you ask it to slow down, think over and then give an answer, the answer would be always better. Because it forms a chain of thought reasoning. It's trying to reason first. Then there is a tree of thought also. The tree of thought is something like, I ask the LLM to create 3 responses to my question, pick up the best one and share the best one with you. So it would create 3 responses, evaluate them, find out which one is the best, closely related to my question, and then give me that answer. So the tree of thought reasoning is also used by several of the LLMs when they are working with you. Which one do you use? That would be always up to. I create my images from this for the book that we write. We create diagrams from napkin, we create illustrations from Leonardo, we create question bank from another prompt that we give it a chapter, we ask it to create a question bank. We create question papers from another tool, another prompt. You can ask it to write a complete 6,000 word paper in IEEE format with all citations intact. But it would be captured in AI class. It would not be captured in turned in normal class. But AI, yes, it would be caught. But to give you an outline about that, how should the paper be formatted? It does. Anybody want to write a paper right away? Give us a title and rewrite it. Come on, try it. I don't know. I'll say and you will type. You will type that write a 6,000 words. Write a 6,000 words. अरे पूरा write a 6,000 word article suitable for publication. To write about green supply chain. So, simply okay. Next, sit. Started with some keyword, then there are inline references also where required because literature review में होता है. And task you tell me which area you want to expand on. फ्लैग में आएगा, AI फ्लैग में आएगा, पैरेंटिंग में नॉर्मल फ्लैग में नहीं है। AI फ्लैग I am not doing a workshop on writing papers.
Please
Understand? It's not a part of my job, and it's unethical, and I would never agree to write a paper this way. You already have been writing much better paper by yourself for a far longer time. This is just I am sharing that this is the capability of a system. You want to have an outline of what should be the content of my paper. This works good. You can expand it. So sometimes we have a writer's block कि मैं ये लिखने में मुझे दिक्कत हो रही है कि how to start. This works very good when you want to how to start. Second, any other problem that you want to resolve? Lesson plan. अभी मेरे को कल क्या करना था? I had to submit something to Deepak sir for CSE MBA data. I took all of my mails. I asked Gemini to create me a summary of either the events that I attended, created a summary. I posted them on outreach activities that make these outreach activities look like achievements. So the text which was there versus the text which came out later was a whole lot different.
Sir, attainment sheet बनता है कि
I have given enough time.
take over the 5 ball का video दे देंगे 6 ball पे क्या 5 ball का video दे 6 ball पे
See, okay. Alright. When it comes to NBA, PO, CO, आराम से mapping आराम से with reason why this mapping happen. The hard part is that I want to upload the documents which contain details from which my report is supposed to be created, the task, and I want to ask the exact specific questions which the SAR says, and I want to get the data in that format which the SAR expects. The only thing which I was not able to comfortably work with was criteria 4. Criteria 4 has an issue because there is a lot of numeric data that comes. और रिजल्ट हमारे पास उस फॉर्मेट में नहीं है जिस फॉर्मेट में इसको चाहिए. अगर वो रिजल्ट उस फॉर्मेट में हो तो उसमें भी ट्रबल नहीं आएगा. How good the quality of your data is would determine how good would the answer of this system be. Anybody wants to try anything with a new problem set? We'll be happy to. Okay. Vinay sir, अच्छा, I have to give quiz also. बना है, quiz है. अच्छा, ये अगले हफ्ते देना. चलेगा. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sir, बैठ जाओ.
Yes, thank you all for your active participation. But now, if you have any queries, you can ask him. Or else, the next segment is you're supposed to mention one term that has been discussed in today's session and make sure it hasn't been posted by somebody else earlier. Right? अभी ग्रुप में कोई लास्ट वाली गेम खेलती है, आपको एक टर्म लिखनी है, but make sure कि आपसे पहले किसी ने वो टर्म नहीं लिखी है. It should be unique. लास्ट टाइम क्या था? जो वो मैं कंपाइल कर रहा हूँ सर, लास्ट में एंड में आपको विनर डिक्लेयर बता दें कि वो का विनर मैक्सिमम पॉइंट्स. नहीं, आप एक से ज्यादा लिख सकते हैं, उसके पॉइंट्स ज्यादा मिलेंगे आपको, बट वो रिपीटेड नहीं होनी चाहिए. For every one term that you are posting, unique, not repeated by somebody else, you get 1 point. but the term should be part of the discussion. Sir ne wo discuss ki ho that you have to take care. And the second thing is you are supposed to fill a feedback form which I will be sharing. And in the meantime, please, Mahesh ji, आप ये collect कर लीजिए. Quizzes. Done. Thank you all. Please fill the feedback form so that we can work on areas of improvement. And a big clap for Sachin sir for sharing all the tools of Gen AI which he's been using for his regular operation. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
अच्छा ग्रुप बनाया अच्छा